ज्ञानमयस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितमेनं तुले स्वयं रूपकथामूल्य ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं हन्तेनं पुरोषयत्तकं चूर्णवैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सर्वनाममातं तं सजीवं साधयितं साधुतं अर्जुनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सर्वनाललिता श्रीविशाखावतां हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश मुकुंद तथा कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वशभानुसुते प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय माचा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुवैश्च भक्तानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो आचार्य श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री गौरवृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. We complete this discussion on Bhagavad Gita passages. We are now discussing we are in chapter 4 and we are discussing the title of this chapter is Transcendental Knowledge. We have to a large extent completed the first four sections, and right now we are in the fifth section of this chapter, which is Glory of Divyana. We are talking about what happens when we are engaged in gaining spiritual knowledge. To gain spiritual knowledge, we need to surrender to the spiritual master and engage in his submissive service and ask questions and engage. This is very important. Actually, we need to do three important things: humbleness, inquisitiveness, and service mindedness. When we engage in this, then automatically the Divya Jnana comes. So now we started sloka number 38 in our last discussion. Let us continue it. We'll start once again from the shloka 4.38. Nani jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga samasiddhaha kalena atmani vindati. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is mature, pure fruit of mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. So, in this verse, Krishna talks about purity and potency of spiritual knowledge. Nahi jnanena sadrisha. Sadrisha means there is no comparison for spiritual knowledge. Pavitra Niya Vidyate. There is nothing as purifying as transcendental knowledge. That's Swayam Yoga Samsiddhaha. When someone is situated in that yoga, Samsiddhaha means when someone is mature or perfected in yoga. Kalen Atmani. Kalen Atmani Vindati means such a person relies in himself over a period of time. So Pavitra Iha Vidyate. Krishna talks about two examples in the sections, namely the boat and then the firewood. Then he is concluding the section by general statement that there's nothing as pure as knowledge. What is this knowledge about? The knowledge is knowledge of Atma and relationship with Krishna. This Krishna has not told explicitly this till now. However, or even now is not it. However, it tells the result that we get from this knowledge. The result is liberation from material miseries and then going back home, back to God. This knowledge will be talked about by Krishna in 7th chapter and 9th chapter. Here, Krishna is glorifying this knowledge that we get. This knowledge we get by practicing sadhana and the process that is given by the spiritual master. This knowledge is purest. So in 9th chapter, we see that Krishna is telling Raja Vidya, Raja Gudya, Pavitram Iha Vidyate, Pavitram Idam Uttamam, Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmya, Susukam Kartum Abhyaya. So this knowledge is a king of education, the most secret of all secret. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. So in this shloka, we see that Krishna is talking about spiritual knowledge, and it is there is nothing as pure as spiritual knowledge. What Krishna describes. Krishna uses everything in superlative terms in this shloka. So now if you go to shloka number 4.3, yoga, when one becomes established and accomplished in yoga, then Kalen Atmani Vindati. Over a time, period of time, he becomes satisfied and becomes happy. Kalen Atmani Vindati. He enjoys being in this position. So one starts delighting within oneself. How does this delighting itself happen? This is the principal question that we need to understand. Soul being naturally joyful when connected with Krishna. So soul is principally happy, naturally happy. When it gets connected with Krishna, the joy is tremendous. So over a period of time, as we keep practicing devotional service, we start becoming aware of our spiritual identity and our own spiritual activity in connection with Krishna. So that means what? That means what? When we get connected to Krishna, naturally that brings happiness. And the easiest way is that when we chant Krishna's name, we become happy. And what makes us to take our chanting beats and chant Hare Krishna every day, 16 rounds, which takes almost 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So what makes us do this again and again, again? It is the happiness that we get. So Prabhupada here is mentioning when we speak, when we speak of transcendental knowledge, when we speak of transcendental, we do so in terms of spiritual understanding. As such, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Ignorance is the cause of our bondage, and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. This knowledge is the mature fruit of devotional service. And when one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he need not search for peace elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. In other words, this knowledge and peace culminate in Krishna consciousness. This is the last word of Bhagavad Gita. In normal condition, our mind is just agitated. It is agitated mess. Mind keeps hankering for different wants. What Srila Prabhupada is referring to as within is a spiritual level. When we doubt mind in Krishna service, then mind calms down. When mind is calm, then we can look deeper within ourselves. So there is a pond and there is a bed of pond. So bed means it is the lowest surface in the pond. And there's a constant agitation on water surface. We cannot see deep inside the pond. The pond becomes calm. Then we can see pond deeper and ends the pond better. So when the mind is in impure state, it is restless and agitated. The water at the surface of the pond is the gross material level. The water inside the pond is the subtle level. The bed of the pond is like the spiritual level. The ripples in the pond surface and pond water are like disturbance at gross and subtle body level. These disturbances in the pond are not allowing us to see the pond bed. These disturbances at the gross and subtle level of the body do not allow us to gain spiritual understanding or progress in spirituality. By the process of yoga, tat swayam yoga samasiddha, one becomes accomplished and ends over a period of time. The mind calms down like a pond water becomes silent and steady. So this helps us to see within. This results in happiness within, and this is Atmani Vindati. So, if there is a ripple on the surface of the pond, then it takes time for the ripple to settle down. So, one thing is we must practice, do a practice whereby this agitation of mind is brought down. If we keep agitating our mind, then there will be lot of ripples, lot of disturbance in our mind. We will not become steady. But once we withdraw ourselves, once we start practicing the yoga, that means no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxicating, chanting 16 rounds, taking only Krishna Prasad, getting early and in the morning, attending Mangalarti, when we do is associate with devotees, read Srila Prabhupada's books systematically. When we do this over a period of time, the agitation of mind settles down and we can look deeper beyond gross and subtle levels. So that is how we should understand. The word Kalena is very significant. So Srila Prabhupada is telling, in due course of time or over a period in course of time, everything in the world takes its own time. Artificial acceleration does not work. For a flower to become, for a bud to become flower or fully blossom flower requires natural time. We will have a strong desire to become a pure devotee today. This transformation from a neophyte to become a pure devotee will take time. We need to, however, be convinced that each sadhana element is purifying us. So we need to be patient. Currently, we are caught in the age of instant food, fast food, and so on. We want everything to be as fast as possible and as instantly as possible. Thus, we want spirituality also to be like an instant copy or a fast food. This consciousness shift from material to spirit, spiritual, material level to spiritual level requires both time and effort. This change of consciousness happens gradually. Kalena, in due course of time, when we enjoy. So this change will take time. Here we have assurance from Krishna that this will certainly happen. Devotees may feel sometimes that we are doing things constantly for so many years, but still the sense gratificatory desires are still in rampant and there are no signs of it subsiding. Further, there are no signs of us giving it up. So, what should we do? So, what should we do when we have um, the first thing is to assess here that if we here is to avoid the first thing is to assess here that if we are working against the four regulative principles, then we must be rigid and strict in avoiding such thoughts and actions. However, if there's a thing outside the four regulative principles, we should keep practicing sadhana strictly and trust in the word of Krishna that we will sooner or later give up these desires. We may sometimes become problem conscious. For example, we may tend to overeat prasadam or avoid a specific service due to tiredness or so. We need not have to get worked about this. As we progress in spiritual life, we will naturally get satisfied in simple things and hence do not require complex things to get satisfied. This is the natural progression. So our focus should be Krishna, devotees, and service to them. When we have this connect, we will understand how to manage things and be progressive in devotional service. So If you sometimes overeating particular, it is fine. If you are not able to do service because of our tiredness or illness, it's fine. Speak to the concerned devotee and go over it. Look progressively and engage, keep engaged in devotional service. So here we are not talking about breaking of four regulated principles. Here we are only talking about oversleeping, overeating, being distracted by changes in the environment around us, and so on. We can assess this progression easily. We can understand 3 years back, I would have overreacted to a comment passed on me and would have gone wild. However, now I'm steady. I am annoyed. However, I am focused on my sadhana and service and carry out the meticulously. This, uh, so our understanding should be that this change in uh, our attitude, change in our behavior, this comes from connection to Krishna and Parampara. So they give us this connection gives us strength, stability and strength, and therefore we should not get shaken by these things. This means that we are focused on the most important thing. We are aware of our shortcomings and we are assessing our progression on how we are improving on these shortcomings. The shortcomings neither provoke us nor they knock us off from our service. This is Kalena Atmani Vindati. Over a period of time, the purification will happen and then shortcoming will be overcome. So this is Kalena Atmani Vindati. So Bhakti Siddhartha Saraswati Thakura has told that there is no way we can do gate crashing into Vaikuntha or kingdom of God. This means we cannot force our way into kingdom of God. Kalena Atmani Vindati should not be misunderstood and make us complacent that Krishna takes us to his place when he wants us. We can take this slow. So we may be thinking that if Krishna wants, he will bring the right time and then we will have a right attitude and hence we will be engaged in service of Krishna. No, this attitude will not work. I am getting sleep during chanting, so let me sleep. I am feeling tired during Ekadashi, so let me not fast. This attitude does not work. We need to show our interest in the austerities, which means our interest to go back home, back to God. So Krishna looks at our interest and that is measured against our actions. Just interest is not there. Just thought may not be sufficient. The thought needs to be converted into action. Sometimes we get into the mood that when Krishna wants me to come to temple, I'll go. Or when Krishna wants me to study Prabhupada's books, I will study. With this mood and attitude, we do not show positive inclination in the devotional service. This is not what we are talking about here. So we are here talking about a situation where we are diligently practicing devotional service day in and day out. In course of this, we may, so for example, what does the day in, day out mean? We need to get up like 3:50 every day, take bath, put tilak, put Vaishnava dress, then get ready for Mangalarti by 4:30, do Mangalarti, then uh, prepare nice boga for Lord offering, and then complete your 16 rounds before Darshanarti and do Darshanarti, Guru Puja, then follow four regulatory principles, read Prabhupada's books at least for 1 hour every day. So when we do this, it is diligent practice of devotional service, day in and day out. Then we visit temple once a week, engage in some service at temple, physical service. So this makes us show to Krishna, or this shows that we are very serious in our service, practice of devotional service. This shows that we are very diligent in our practice of devotional service. In course of this, we may sometimes feel satisfied, sometimes not satisfied. Sometimes we may see that mind is pure, sometimes we see that mind is not pure. We shouldn't get caught up in these things. Our thinking should be that we are in process of purification, and hence at some point of time we will get purified. However, our duty is to just engage in the service of what we need to do is stay committed in the practice of devotional service. When we do this diligently, the higher taste will come more and more. We will start releasing the taste more and more, and our other tastes will become so irrelevant to us. These tastes will become irrelevant, insignificant, and then non-existent. Irrelevant means not important. Insignificant means not worth attention. Non-existence means they are just gone. This happens gradually. We should focus on becoming Krishna conscious with the faith that Krishna and the process of bhakti will purify us. So this is the purport of Kalena Atmani Vindati. We have still So we have till now discussed, I'm just sharing my screen. We have till now discussed the glorification of spiritual knowledge, or Krishna has elaborated the glorification of spiritual knowledge. Now Krishna will talk about the most important thing, which is faith. How we should have faith and what happens to those who do not have faith. So let us go to the next shloka, which is shloka number 39. श्रद्धावल लभते ज्ञान तत्पर समेतेन्द्रिय ज्ञानं लब्ध्वा परम शांतिम् अचिरेणाधिगच्छति. So one important thing we need to know, just a moment. So if you see shloka number 35 to 38, 35, having obtained real knowledge from self-realization, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living entities are part of Supreme, or in other words, they are mine. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over ocean of miseries. As the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burst to ashes all reactions to activities. In this world, there is no sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is a mature fruit of mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. So in this shloka 35 to 38, Krishna talks about the glory of transcendental knowledge. He has briefed how transcendental knowledge frees us from illusion and grants one spiritual vision, how it can elevate even the most sinful souls, how it can burn the sinful reaction, how this is the purest one, how it can relish, how one can relish this knowledge over a period of time. So now in this shloka 4.39, the main focus is Shraddha. Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. Shraddha what? So next verse they are explained in contrasting. So we will see what is this contrasting. So in this verse we see glory of having faith. And the next verse 4.40 will talk about folly of not having faith. So let us see what is the glory of having faith. Shraddha va lavate jnanam. That person acquires knowledge. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge, who subdues his senses, is eligible. is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Shraddhaval labate jnana. The person acquires knowledge. The person that we are referring here is the one who has faith. In addition, he requires to dedicate himself in regulation of his senses. Shraddhaval labate jnanam tat par samayatendriya. Tat par samayatendriya means when one does these three things, it is having faith, being regulated in senses, dedicated to the process. Tatpara means very much attached to it. Attached to it here refers to the devotional service, path of devotional service, or dedicated to gaining the spiritual knowledge, dedicated to listen from the spiritual master. So he requires to be dedicated and samayatindriya, control the senses. So for him, what happens? Jnanam labdva param shanti. You get this knowledge and ends the spiritual peace. The shanti means peace, jnanam, labdva. Labdva means having achieved param shanti. You get transcendental peace. Then achirena adhigacchati. Achirena adhigacchati means very soon. How quickly we'll get this? This does not take much time. Soon the results are achieved. So there are some key points to understand in this verse. One is in due course of time we will achieve the result. We may question how long Kalen Atmani Vindati. Kalen Atmani Vindati means that was in 4.38. Um, that could be a question which we could ask in sloka number 4.38. Krishna gives answer to that question in 4.39. He says, Achirena Vigachati. Very soon we get this. Another important point Krishna is making here is that once we get this jnana, then Shanti comes. Jnanam labdva param Shanti. Once we are situated in spiritual platform, the knowledge and peace will follow automatically. The biggest challenge is in situating in the spiritual platform. This is the most important thing. There is one more important point in this verse, that is faith, that the faith acquire this knowledge. So we need to understand the relationship between faith and knowledge. How does faith increase? By studying scripture. We may think that study, then ask question, get answers, will get knowledge, and hence deeper faith in the knowledge and the practice. How to understand what is the cause and what is the effect. Faith causes knowledge or vice versa. So we need to understand the relationship between faith and knowledge. How does faith increase? So let us see one interesting shloka in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 23.14 and 5. Adav Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha At Bhajana Kriya Tata Anartha Nivritti Syat Tata Nishtas Ruchistata Tata Asakti Tato Bhava Tata Prema Abhi Tanchati Sadhakanam Ayam Premnaha Radha Bhave Bhavet Krama. So what does this sloka mean? In the beginning there must be faith. So what comes first? Is it knowledge or the faith? In the beginning, let us consider faith is required. Then one becomes interested in associating with pure devotees. Thereafter, one is initiated by spiritual master and executes the regulative principle under his orders. Thus, one is freed from all unwanted habits and becomes firmly fixed in devotional service. Thereafter, one develops taste and attachment. This is the way of sadhana bhakti, the execution of devotional service according to regulative principles. Gradually, emotions intensify, and finally, there is awakening of love. This is the gradual development of love of God for a devotee interested in Krishna consciousness. So this is also taken from Nectar of Devotion. This is a sloka also appearing in Nectar of Devotion, which is also called as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we have discussed in 4.10 Bhagavad Gita, we have discussed about one important thing. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Ma Upashita Bhagavan Jnana Tapasa Uta Madbhava Magata. So being free from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me, taking refuge in many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me. Thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So knowledge is obtained by giving up attachment, fear, and anger. So in this shloka quoted from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we see that the first stage is Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. The point is that the spiritual life begins with Shraddha. This means we have faith that there is a higher dimension of spirituality in life. Then we work towards that. This faith helps us to study Bhagavad Gita nicely. The faith here refers to the point that this Bhagavad Gita is a great book. Many thinkers in the world have studied it, practically applied it, and improved their life. They have appreciated the sum and substance of Gita. Hence, I would like to acquire this knowledge, and if there is a possibility, then I can also apply this knowledge and improve my life. This is Shraddhava Bhavate. The same thing we can apply when we approach a bona fide spiritual master. We regard that he is an exponent in this area. Hence, following his teaching, I can make steady progress in spiritual life and hence improve my life. First, we see that a preliminary faith is required, and that is Shraddhava Lavatenya. With faith comes knowledge. This knowledge clears and clarifies our doubts, and hence faith grows stronger. This faith helps us to practice spiritual principles better, which in turn reinforces our faith. We get understanding of the applied knowledge. Because knowledge begets faith and faith begets knowledge. Thus, there is a symbiotic relationship. So, when we have this, then it is easy to vitaraga bhayakroda. With knowledge, attachment, fear, and anger goes. That is what Krishna is telling. How? By purified by my knowledge of me. So when we get purified, more, we get purified by knowledge. So it starts with faith, then we get purified, we get more knowledge, we get more faith, more knowledge, purified, more knowledge, more faith. Like that, it is a symbiotic relationship. So Krishna hence emphasizes that everything starts with preliminary faith. This faith then matures among the stages of bhakti. So Shraddha is a form of faith. Nishta is a form of faith. So Shraddha is a form of faith. Nishta is a form of faith. So this is, we will dwell deeper into these topics in our next classes, next discussions. We will stop here. Thank you very much. Chakalpatarudhyascha kripa sindhu vairvacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo ग्रंथराज भगवद गीता की जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि गुरु हरि बोल हरे कृष्णा